Sometimes beekeeping is hot and heavy. I notice a lot of my mating nukes is they've already filled the hive with nectar and the hive is heavy. So trying to stay ahead of my bees, I gave out deeps in the colonies. What I do is I go through and I check with a hive tool. I stick a hive tool in here and I pry it open enough just to see if I see bees in the bottom deep. It doesn't matter how many. If I see them down there prepping, getting ready to move the colony down there, I go ahead and I'll get the deep. I think I've done 20 or so already this morning, between morning and afternoon. But if you're an American and you're following my videos, go to your local Walmart. Are you impressed with what you see as far as your fellow Americans? Majority of you are fat and stupid. I don't think you could handle what I'm doing. I'm 56 years old. I have 2 businesses and I have not been able to find a young person that could keep up with me. Even my own son, he's 30 years old. I gotta say that he's a pathetic loser. I tried to raise him right, but he wanted to be a mama's boy, so he's gonna suffer for that. He can't keep up with me, and I'm 26 years older. And I didn't feed my bees syrup last fall. And if you've been following me, you see the trouble I went through to make sure I give them all my honey that they made last year. I didn't sell any honey. I kept it as reserve to feed them through winter. We had a lot of warm-ups. And I would bring my bees out, open up the hives, and give them frames of honey. And it paid off. I've only had to buy a couple $100 worth of Domino cane sugar in the spring to feed them syrup when it cooled off, and a few were almost out of food. But look, we haven't had any decent rain in a month. It's June 2nd. If we don't get any rain in a week, I'm going to go ahead and start watering my clover. See, there's a bee right there. So they are getting a lot of nectar. The dandelions helped them. The biggest crop of dandelions I've ever seen in my life. That helped them get started. And depending on what happens this summer, I have basically 1 acre of Dutch white clover. I can water that and hopefully keep them going. In another couple weeks, when Michigan Bee Works moves these bees in my area, I'm going to be pulling out colonies. That's why usually this time of year I start pulling out bottom boards and leave the bottom screen. But I'm leaving some of them in shaded areas because I'm going to be moving them out. The areas that are really, really hot, like up there at the house, you got to do your best to make sure they get enough ventilation. They get extremely hot at the house, but these bees here are in shade all the time. So I got 2 more left that I got to do. What I do is I just go ahead and remove the hive cover. And I lift up the deep and the medium. I gotta use both hands, so hold on. I'm finding a lot of this shit. Mouse nest. That cuts down on the ventilation. Like I said, I leave the bottom boards on until after I get them moved. After I get them moved to their permanent location for the summer, I'll take the bottom board off. But right now, you gotta have good ventilation for the heat to rise out of the hive. If it's plugged up at the bottom, the heat's not going to exit the hive. So here we go. I got that all set up. And I have my deeps over here ready. This is 49. This is the last one I'm doing today. I did kill Queen 9 about a month ago or 3 weeks ago or something like that. And I put 3 frames of brood in 1 and 9 and 2 other colonies, and none of them were successful at producing a virgin queen. So that was the end of Queen 9. Unfortunately, sometimes that happens. It's important because Queen 9 was a very old queen from 2020. I considered her to be good quality, and I wanted to have more of her family line, but it just didn't work out. And unfortunately, that's just the way it goes sometimes. Okay, got the bottom deep in, so I'm gonna, okay, that one's done. And I just finished up using all my brown frames yesterday. So I would not put a deep of brown frames on that colony, but now all I have left is new foundation. So you can have this on a small colony. Nothing's going to happen. Wax moths are not going to come in here and do anything on that. The wax moths will go to the frames that are already brown, and that's where the bees are. So go ahead and do that. That way during the summer, if I get busy with other things, like I'll show you some of the things I have to do, and I'll go ahead and finish 49. Okay, 49's got their second deep. And I will admit, these are small colonies, so I'm going to leave entrance reducer in. At the end of the afternoon, between 4 and 6 o'clock, I walk and check all my colonies. If I see a traffic jam, at the top of the hive, I go ahead and I remove the entrance reducer at the bottom of the hive. Let me pause this. Like I said, I've removed the entrance reducer at the bottom of the hive, and it takes them a while. When they move down and they get down to the bottom here and they see more daylight down here, they'll start coming out the bottom. And and that way you don't want to slow them down and impede their progress. We'll walk through here and I'll show you some of the other things. If you're employed somewhere and you can't take off time whenever you need to, chances you doing something like this is probably a no. But because I'm self-employed, I'm currently wiring a house right now. I got like a couple days into it, and I told the contractor that I got to do some other stuff with my bees for a couple days. So next week I have to go back. I have that flexibility. With my bees are more important than anything else. This is the greatest value that I have. So you got to stay ahead of the bees, give them a second deep before they need it. If you give it to them too late, there's a chance they're going to swarm. And then I got to do this footing here sometime this summer and lay blocks. But right now, I'm between my electrical business and my beekeeping. I'm every day nonstop with this, and then I'll do this later. So depending on how many colonies you have and how much time you have available, it determines whether you can do what I do or not. So, and this is, well, I'll show you the other location that gets really hot. Okay, this is south side of my garage, and I've got a roof, and this gets really hot during the summer, and I feel sorry for them, especially when there's no wind. And I've created 27 colonies, new colonies with new queens already in 4 weeks. And this section right here that has, as far as I know, no VQs. I checked them later in the morning and it was already hot, and they were all squirrely. They weren't in a cluster. It could be there's some virgin queens in here, and then maybe they all died because they got too hot. But anyway, not much I can do about this unless I put a curtain up or something to block some of the sunlight. But towards the end of summer, it's hot too because the sun is almost at its highest point. It's going to start going back. And then these front of these hives will be exposed to the sunlight all day long. They're not like these out here that are underneath the trees, and they won't get any sunshine until towards the end of summer, August, September. And hopefully by then it's cooling off. So like I said, beekeeping can be hot and heavy sometimes. And right now it's hot and heavy. I got hot hives and they're heavy. Okay, thank you.